It was August, hot. The year was 1974. A young girl, just 12, was walking her dog. She was in the dunes near Race Point Beach in Provincetown, Massachusetts. Her dog, a German Shepherd, got loose. It ran into the brush. She followed it. And that is when she found something. It was a body, a woman. She was naked. She was lying on a green beach blanket. Her head was crushed, almost gone. Her hands were cut off. They were missing. It was a brutal scene. A nightmare. Police came quickly. They looked at the body. The woman was light-skinned. She had red or reddish-blonde hair. It was pulled back in a ponytail. She had good dental work. Not cheap. She had gold fillings. Very distinctive. She had a blue bandana under her head. It was also under the blanket. Her body was mostly intact, except for the head injury and missing hands. They found some clothing near her. Wrangler jeans, a blue short-sleeved shirt, a white short-sleeved shirt, maybe 2 shirts, a pair of tan sandals, some hair rollers, a comb, nothing else, no purse, no ID, no car, nothing. And so began the mystery of the Laddie of the Dunes. For nearly 50 years, she was just that, a lady. In the dunes, unidentified, no name, no story, just a Jane Doe. She was a ghost, a whisper. The oldest active cold case for an unidentified person in Massachusetts. Police tried everything they knew back then. They took fingerprints, but there were no hands. So they tried to get them from her feet. They did. But no matches came up, not in any database. Dental records. Yes, they had those unique gold fillings. They sent them out. Across the country. To dental associations, no luck. Her face was reconstructed. Artists drew what they thought she looked like, based on her skull. Police showed these drawings around. To people in Provincetown, to people in other towns, everywhere. No one knew her. They looked at missing persons reports, hundreds of them, thousands, over the years. Each time a woman went missing, they would check. Did she match the Lady of the Dunes? No, never. The distinctive red hair, the dental work, it should have been enough. But it was not. The case gained some strange theories. A wild guess was that she was an extra in the movie Jaws. That movie was filmed nearby, on Martha's Vineyard, around the same time. People thought maybe she walked off set. Maybe she was killed. But that was just talk. It led nowhere. There was also talk about the Black Mass theory, that she was part of some ritual because of the missing hands and the way she was found. But again, no real evidence, just speculation. People needed answers. They made things up. The police kept trying. They exhumed her body more than once. They wanted new clues. New science. The first time was in 1980. They hoped to get better fingerprints from her feet. Still nothing. The second time was in 2000. They wanted DNA. This was new technology then. They got some DNA from her bone. They got what is called mitochondrial DNA. This DNA comes from the mother's side. It can be helpful, but it is not unique to one person. It is shared by everyone on that maternal line. So it is hard to pinpoint one person. Still, they put her mitochondrial DNA into a database, CODIS. It is a national database for DNA. No matches. Again, the years kept passing, detectives retired, new ones came on the case. The Lady of the Dunes became a legend, a local horror story, a constant reminder of a killer walking free, and of a woman whose name was lost. Traditional forensic methods hit a wall. Fingerprints are good, if you have them, and if the person was fingerprinted before. Dental records are good, if you have them, and if someone reported the person missing, with good dental records. But for the Lady of the Dunes, none of that worked. She seemed to just appear, out of nowhere, a ghost, without a past. The science of DNA changed everything, slowly, over decades. In the 1980s, DNA fingerprinting was brand new. By the 1990s, it was used more often. It helped solve crimes, but it needed a lot of DNA, and it needed good DNA. From a fresh sample, the Lady of the Dunes body was old. The DNA was degraded. It was a challenge. Mitochondrial DNA was a start, but it did not give enough specific information. It only points to a family line, not an individual, not like nuclear DNA. Nuclear DNA is what makes you, you. It is unique, unless you have an identical twin. By the 2000s and 2010s, DNA technology got much better. And labs could work with smaller samples, degraded samples, they could get more information. More specific information. From old bones, from old blood, from hair. This opened up new possibilities for cold cases. Cases like the Lady of the Dunes. But the biggest change came from something else. It was not just better lab work, it was something called genetic genealogy. or sometimes familial DNA. This is different. It uses DNA not just to match a suspect to a crime scene, or to identify a body from a direct relative. It uses DNA to find relatives, distant relatives like second cousins, third cousins, and then genealogists build a family tree. I think of it like this. You spit in a tube, you send it to a company like Ancestry.com or 23andMe. They tell you about your family history, about your ethnicity, and they connect you to other people in their database. People who share some of your DNA. These are your relatives. They might be close. They might be far away. This is called recreational genetic genealogy. Law enforcement started seeing the power of this. What if they took the DNA from a crime scene or from an unidentified body? And what if they put it into one of these public databases, not Ancestry or 23andMe directly? Those companies have privacy rules, but there are other databases, like GEDmatch. Or Family Tree DNA, people can upload their DNA data there for free or for a small fee. And they agree to let law enforcement use it for certain cases, like violent crimes, or identifying dead bodies. This is exactly what happened with the Golden State Killer case. In 2018, police used DNA from old crime scenes. They uploaded it to GEDmatch. They found distant relatives. Then genealogists worked. They built a massive family tree, backward, forward. They found a suspect, Joseph James D'Angelo. He was arrested. That case changed everything. It showed the world what genealogy could do. It was a breakthrough, a huge one. And so, the idea came for the Lady of the Dunes. Could this new science give her a name, give her story back? The decision was made to try. Police reached out to Othram. Othram is a private lab. They specialize in this. They take very degraded, very old DNA, they clean it up, they build a full DNA profile. A very detailed one. It is called forensic genetic genealogy. The DNA from the Lady of the Dunes was a challenge, almost 50 years old, from bone. It had been handled, exhumed, it was not easy. But Othram worked on it. They used advanced techniques. They were able to get enough DNA. They built a comprehensive profile. Then they uploaded it to a public database. GEDmatch. They looked for matches, and they found them. Distant relatives, not close ones, but enough. Enough for a genealogist to start working, to start building that family tree. It is like putting together a giant puzzle with tiny pieces from all over the country and the world. The genealogists are the experts at this. They are like detectives themselves, but they use birth records, marriage records, census data, old newspaper articles, family stories, everything. To connect the dots, they started to narrow it down. They looked for families that had a missing woman, a woman who would be the right age, at the right time. In 1974, they found a family, a specific woman. Her name was Ruth Marie Terry. Ruth Marie Terry, a name, not just a lady, from the Dunes. The next step was to confirm it. Police needed a direct DNA sample from a close relative of Ruth Marie Terry. They found one, a niece. She agreed to give a DNA sample. It was sent to Othram. They compared it to the DNA from the Lady of the Dunes. It was a match, a positive match. This was her, Ruth Marie Terry. The announcement came in October 2022, almost 48 years to the day she was found. The Lady of the Dunes had a name, Ruth Marie Terry. It was a huge moment for the family, for the investigators, for everyone who followed the case. The mystery of her identity was over, but identifying her closed one chapter, and it opened a much bigger one. Now, the question was not, who is she? It was, who killed Ruth Marie Terry? Ruth Marie Terry was born in 1936. She was from Tennessee. She was 37 years old when she was killed. She had been married a few times. She had children, but she was estranged from them. She had moved around, from Tennessee to California. She had a history, a life. Now, police could trace that life. They could talk to people who knew her, her family, her friends, anyone. Her family had wondered about her for decades. They lost touch with her. They did not know what happened. They assumed she had just moved on, started a new life, died of natural causes somewhere. They never thought she was murdered. They never filed a missing persons report. That is why no one found her before. This happens often with Jane and John does. People just lose touch. Life gets in the way. With her name, investigators got new leads, very important ones. Her estranged husband, Guy Moldavin. He immediately became a person of interest, a very strong person of interest. Guy Moldavin had a history, a very dark history. He was known to be violent. He was charming, but dangerous. He had other wives and girlfriends. Many of them also disappeared, or died under mysterious circumstances. He was a puzzle, a bad guy. But before Ruth Marie Terry was identified, he was just a footnote, a person in her life. Now, he was central. Ruth Marie Terry and Guy Moldavin were married in 1973. In California, they went on a trip to the East Coast. They visited relatives in the Northeast. This included her family in Tennessee and his family in Massachusetts. Guy Moldavin had family in the area. In Truro, not far from Provincetown, they were last seen together in July 1974. In the Truro area, just before Ruth Marie Terry was killed and her body found. When police talked to Guy Moldavin back in the 1970s, he denied knowing anything. He said they had an argument. She left. He did not know where she went. He went back to California. And that was that. No one pressed him too hard because Ruth Marie Terry was not known to be murdered. She was just a missing person to him, and no one could link her to the Lady of the Dunes. But now everything changed. Guy Moldavin had a motive. He was with her. He was nearby. Well, he had a history of violence. He fit the profile, but there was a problem. A big problem. Guy Moldavin died in 2002. He was already gone. This makes the case much harder to prosecute. You cannot charge a dead man. You cannot put him on trial, but police can still investigate. They can gather evidence. They can try to build a case, even if it is just to officially name him as the killer. To give Ruth Marie Terry's family closure. To say, this is who did it. The new investigation started with a fury. Detectives went back through old files, they re-interviewed people, anyone who knew Ruth Marie Terry, anyone who knew Guy Moldavin. They looked for new evidence. Even small details could be important. They focused on his past, his other wives, his other girlfriends. They wanted to see a pattern, a history of abuse, a history of murder. His first wife, Barbara Penn. She disappeared in 1960. From California, never found. His second wife, Manon. She died in 1962 under suspicious circumstances. She fell from a cliff. He said it was an accident. The police investigated. But they could not prove murder. Another woman, Dolly. She also disappeared years later. In the 1980s, Guy Moldavin was a chameleon. He changed names. He moved around. He was hard to track. He was good at hiding things. And the police back then did not have the tools they have today. No databases, no internet, no national DNA. The current detectives are doing everything they can. They are looking at the clothing found near Ruth Marie Terry's body. Can they find his DNA? Or anyone else's? They are looking at her dental work. Could it tell them more? About where she was from. About who she saw. They are looking at the weapon. The blunt object that crushed her skull. Was it something common or something unique? This whole story shows the power of familial DNA. It is not just about the Lady of the Dunes. It is about all the other Jane and John Does out there, all the other cold cases, the ones that seemed impossible. For decades, labs like Autumn are making a huge difference. Here, they are taking DNA samples that were once thought too degraded, too old, too small. And they are getting answers. They are giving names back to the dead. They are giving hope to families. And they are giving leads to detectives, leads that never existed before. Many people have uploaded their DNA to public databases like GeneMatch. So they did it for fun, to learn about their family. But they also made a choice. They agreed to let law enforcement use their DNA to help identify victims, to help catch killers. And this decision has changed cold case investigations forever. It has created a new kind of citizen detective, people contributing their genetic information to help solve crimes. There are debates about privacy, about whether law enforcement should use these public databases. People worry about their genetic information being used without their consent, or for things they did not agree to. These are important conversations. But for cases like the Lady of the Dunes, the benefits are clear. A woman who was just a body in the sand for nearly 50 years now has her name back. Her family has answers, and a killer can finally be identified, even if he is dead. The future of cold case investigations looks different now. More and more cases will use this technology. Labs will get even better at extracting DNA from difficult samples. Public databases will grow, and the chances of solving these old, seemingly impossible cases will increase. Every day, the story of Ruth Marie Terry is a powerful one. It is a story of persistence, of science, of people who never gave up. Detectives who kept the file open. There are genealogists who spent countless hours building family trees. Scientists who pushed the limits of technology. And it is a story of a woman who was lost and then found not just her name, but her story, her life. It is not the end of the journey. The killer still needs to be fully identified. All the details need to come out, but it is a major step, a huge step forward. And familial DNA did what nothing else could do. It gave a voice back to the Lady of the Dunes. It gave her back her identity. And now, it is helping to find her killer. It is a slow process, a difficult one. But justice moves forward, inch by inch, even after nearly 50 years. The truth has a way of coming out, eventually, because of science and because people care. And they keep trying until there are no more unknowns, just answers.